This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to PTBN's NBA Team Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Andrew Riche. I am joined by Adam Murray. Adam, you'll never believe it. I'm actually going to get a taste of some Midwestern, Northeastern life. Down here in the South, we will actually see snow.
I know, and then it's going to be all confusion, and then like every time Atlanta has, well, you have the icing more than anything, and they don't know how, they don't have a salt budget and everything. Like we're going to get.
I mean, I like eating foods with icing and salt. So what's the problem with that?
By the time this drops, we'll have already had like 6 inches of snow up here, and it's just business as usual. Just annoying, but.
No, what I find funny is that the snow is supposed to be on Tuesday, and it's in the 90 to 80% range across the board. So everyone is like, "Oh, I'm just gonna take the day off just to play in the snow," and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think in Michigan and in New Hampshire and Idaho, I don't think they do that. Like when they see snow outside, they're like, ugh." They don't celebrate like it's Frosty the Snowman sitting outside saying hi.
Basically.
They actually had an NBA game, postponed due to a snowstorm. I think it was the one in Atlanta. Am I right about that one?
Yeah, Atlanta was postponed, and then the LA ones were.
The college football national championship game is going to be there. By the time this drops, it'll already be played. But like, how are you going to play in that? Or I mean, they're indoors, but how are you going to get the fans there?
They'll survive, considering the two schools are in Indiana and Ohio, respectively, who are no strangers to snow.
Those two nobody schools. One runs,
and then just go to the rest of the country. Doesn't care about it. So this is
that's Martin Luther King Day. But it's funny. It's gonna be different from other years when NBA always has like a celebratory or marathon of games for MLK Day. It's different this time because number one, like we just said, the college football national title game is later that night. So there won't be a primetime game on TNT. The other thing is it's Inauguration Day. So it's going to almost be like third fiddle. So they have some afternoon games on TNT, and that's about it.
The usual Memphis game.
Right. They played Minnesota, which could be good. Both teams have been a little bit in the head. No. Yeah. The Memphis is playing well. We had the – you want to know how irrelevant the regular season has kind of felt in the first few months? The biggest play of the game wasn't even a real like game play. It was John Moran dunking on Victor Wembanyama after the whistle.
Well, I think, and this is probably be our topic of the day, the NBA has a major problem coming through, and Jimmy Butler was just sort of the start of it. He's, the malcontent, and I don't want to be here.
I think it started well before Jimmy Butler, Adam.
But I meant this current season.
He's a symptom of it, yes.
Well, no, this is the snowball that's getting everything to start rolling. He's malcontent and want to trade. However, the problem is 0 teams can trade for him due to his salary and tax
and
implications.
Also his very iffy nature about his player option, which is like a
well, regardless of that, if everything was no teams could trade for him because of his salary, and the only one that could is Phoenix, and then Bradley Beal's no trade clause, like, no, I don't want to leave to go do that. So nobody else can offer deals, and then you have like, I've been saying the last few episodes how this season has just been so mid, and so everything is just all these flawed teams.
Well, the games have been the style of play has been pretty uncreative. A lot of chucking of threes, and the pace is still pretty fast, but a lot of the field goal percentage is down.
Every team is just doing James Harden and Russell Westbrook ball. Let's just run and chuck it up and don't even bother trying to set plays and run anything.
Yeah, the one thing that us NBA fans can hang our hat on is just fantastic individual performances. Nikola Jokic having, just great nights, triple doubles. Russell Westbrook, by the way, kind of having a mini renaissance as the
But
sidekick.
but
You know,
the Nuggets are not good this year, and you had Steph Curry saying we'll bow out gracefully as old people, and
yeah,
the Warriors shouldn't.
he had
The,
an interview that got a little bit of buzz because he basically said, if we don't win the title this year, it's okay, but I won't be okay with it in the future.
Yeah, so he's basically giving up on the year. And you look at all the powerhouse teams in the West, supposedly, Denver, Dallas, Minnesota, Phoenix. They're all, they're all 3 games apart as it is, but they're all flawed and all need to make changes. However, they can't. The Lakers are like, well, we're stuck with this roster. You have Miami, who's stuck with their roster. Chicago's like, we want to tank, but our salaries are preventing it from people doing it.
I have some thoughts about Chicago later, but keep going.
But you just have all these teams who need to make changes, who can't. So you're going to go to you're going to go to the playoffs with all these teams who are just blah, and
they're half-assing it. Yeah.
And the NBA, I think, has done a terrible job in marketing Oklahoma City as, an SGA, as the next big thing and everything. Because nobody seems, they're small market and everything. No, it has nothing to do with small market. It's just nobody cares about that team, period. They're still just, oh, yeah, there used to be Seattle. And
not only that, they're also the best. But I mean, I was kind of doing some number crunching over the last couple weeks. Oklahoma City is without question the best defensive team across the board in the NBA. That's not the sexiest team to watch. Now, offensively, they can get going as well. SGA can get going. He's, I think, top 3 in scoring. But his style of play isn't always like, oh wow, look at that incredible play he made. His is more horizontal. He kind of just goes left to right and he just makes you miss.
You have all the stars this year. Luka out. Embiid.
He'll be back soon. Out. I'll say this about Luka. I think he'll be back soon from the calf.
I'm just saying, he's out. Embiid's out. Mm-hmm. You have the Warriors they know they're not good this year. You have LeBron. You have LeBron on that team who everybody knows that team is not that good this year.
The Knicks are starting to finally have their aches and pains from playing their starters too much.
You have all these, the old guard, and these teams just aren't good, and everything is where this is the end. The NFL is slowly ending, so therefore the Sunday afternoon games will come in and more national stuff, and there's no team like, oh, I need to tune in to see them because you have told me, like, yeah, I watch Warriors games now that Buddy Hield cooled off. They're not good.
The Kings are actually playing better than the Warriors because ever since they brought in Doug Christie, I don't think Christie's a savant as a coach, but they've tinkered the lineup a little bit with playing bench guys, and they're just playing a lot harder. So they're back in the play-in scenario. Let me ask you this though, but because the NBA standings is sort of an hourglass, you keep saying, well, this team's not that great. This team's not that great. Okay, then which teams are great, Adam? There's somebody that's going to wind up with a great record. I mean, we got.
Well, you have Cleveland, you have Oklahoma City, and you have Houston.
Twice, and they basically had home and homes, and one game was great. The Cleveland game in Cleveland was great when they won. The one in Oklahoma City was a complete rout. Oklahoma City won easily.
And you have Memphis. And do you expect Memphis and Houston to be at the end of the season? No, not really. They don't really strike fear in anybody. And, Oklahoma City is like, well, they should do something to shore that roster. Well, they don't want to mess with their chemistry. Okay.
Boston is Boston.
Boston has been they're just watching the Celtics, there just appears to be no urgency, no. I don't want to say they look tired. It's just
they can they're a switch. I love using this term because I used it all the time in college when Shaq and Kobe's Lakers were around. They're switch flippers. They're guys that if they want to kill a great team, they can do it. But they're not always motivated. Perfect example.
They're currently not motivated at this stretch of the game, losing.
Let me give you this example. They get a home game stretch back-to-backs. First game against Orlando, and Orlando was playing, I think, everybody except for Franz Wagner. They killed them, absolutely murdered them, made 17 threes. Second game, they play the Hawks. They just don't play smart down the stretch. They lose in overtime to the Hawks. So that's just
with the Hawks game, Porzingis and Horford were on rest. So
Andrew Holiday played like crap.
Holiday is just you can't follow his stat line to see what he does anymore because he's no longer putting up those numbers, but he is just the point guard who moves it
And
to the
well,
spot to.
here's the thing about Tatum. Tatum's at that point where I can't even look at his numbers and know if he had a great game or not because he has a great game all the time.
Yeah,
You know,
his numbers are his
even when he
numbers.
shoots poorly, he's averaging 20 points a game.
Jaylen Brown still gets his unfair share of just illogical haterade.
Where's your temperature on the Bucks?
The Bucks are just one injury away from being in the lottery.
Record-wise, they're moving up in the standings.
They're moving up, but that required Middleton coming back and all their pieces being there. And then we've learned if one piece goes out, that's it. They're done.
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix, they start off super hot. Then all of a sudden, well, the injuries start creeping in. And then, well, there's no flow at all. And
I want to stay with Phoenix for a second because there were things that happened there. First of all, the Nurkic being benched and then acquiring Nick Richards for Josh Okogie and some picks. I think everybody saw that coming because when Budenholzer became the coach, I'm like, okay, he is not going to just settle for a big man who only likes to rebound and doesn't play one-on-one defense. So when Richards came in, I'm like, okay, that's a good fit. He can get to the free throw line. He can get double doubles. He'll fit well. The thing though also about the Suns, and I said this on a previous episode, that I secretly thought that maybe Beal, Booker, and Durant were not on the same page. And I think the reason, Adam, is that their offensive playbook and most NBA team offensive playbooks are you really only have enough volume of shots for two guys in every game. And the two guys that they feel that they're probably most effective playing with are Booker and Durant. And I think they finally settled on that. And Beal's like, okay, I don't want to be a facilitator anymore. I am a scorer. I'm a born scorer. So what can we do? And they came to a compromise. I think ownership does want to try to get him to waive the no trade clause, and he's hesitant to do so. And Budenholzer's bright idea was, okay, how about we just take you off the bench and you can be the scorer off the bench? And listen, to Beal's credit, he said, cool, I'll do it. He looked great the first few games they did that. Butler has been a malcontent from the start. I don't think Beal's been a malcontent.
Beal hasn't been a malcontent. He just hasn't been good. He's not the player he was, and with that albatross of a contract, and that's becoming with all those people. You have these mid-30 guys at the end of their careers who are making $40-50 million. Well, you can't aggregate salaries. You can't do this. You can't do that. So teams are like, I can't give up. We can't do this anymore because we've traded all our picks away. And
but now you have to take back 70% based off of the CBA law. Like you got to do something, has to give, or you just bite the bullet, like you were saying at the top of the show, and just take your team the way it is.
Yeah, but none of the teams are worth going into the extra salary because you only go in there if you like the Celtics. If the Celtics have a big letdown, they'll have one more year to run it back, and then the Tatum Brown duo will be split up most likely. The same thing. Oklahoma City. Okay, you have to now give Chet and Williams. Jalen's gonna get max extension. Chet will probably get a very high one too. That money has now disappeared. And they have all these picks and everything. Look at Houston. You have all this talent.
They had to, yeah.
And you every team is just running into problems, and it's not good for the league. Like, okay, LeBron's putting up his numbers, but nobody on the, Davis, where is his, even he's just sort of settled into his lane. And
I'll say this about Houston, though. I don't think it's a coincidence that here's the reason. So Jalen Green got his extension right before the deadline. We talked about it on the show. It was a year or two less than Şengün's. So a lot of people are immediately anticipating, they did that, so it's a more tradable contract if they sour on Jalen Green. I don't think it was a coincidence that the moment the Jimmy Butler's talk started, they were like, oh, Jalen Green might be, they might actually think about moving him in the offseason or something. I don't think it was a coincidence that Jalen Green started playing his best basketball in the month of January. That's all I'm going to say.
No, it's that I think is smart. Well, it's the same way I said when Jimmy Butler, the news dropped, I was like, oh, Detroit should just offer Hardaway and the beef stew,
Yeah.
and because they could absorb it, and then all of a sudden, like a week later, hey, maybe Detroit should offer. It's just finding the easiest pieces of making the money
Mhm.
fit. Houston,
Yeah.
I think, did a great. I a lot of people are like, I don't get it. I think it's good because if you give two max players, you're set into both those players for 5 years. Your cap is now killed. They sort of now staggered it where, okay, we have year 3. Okay, Green's up for his extension. Shingun only has 2 years left. We could dump one of those two, as opposed to we're both stuck with these people. We need to give 2 max deals to 2 people at the same time.
Yeah.
And
And
you,
also, even though this is super projecting, you do have to look into the Amon Thompson, Tyrese, and Jabari Smith Jr. ones when those come in a year.
well,
You have to
the
think.
Cam Whitmore thing, and all you're hearing about how Cam's a problem because Cam wants to
They
play,
are
but
they are a great defense, man. Even Udoka's got them playing their asses off. That's why Houston is where they're at. How
and
they'll do the playoffs when they're playoff virgins, I don't know. That's the question.
and we're also seeing that too with, well, Oklahoma City has all these first round picks and they could get the number 1 pick again. They could get Cooper Flag. Yeah, where's Cooper going to play? You see this in Houston. You have too deep of a team. Reed Shepard, oh, he looks awesome. Well, he can't get on the court because you have so many people in front
He's
of him.
barely played. Yeah.
Where's Cooper? Let's say Cooper Flag does go to Oklahoma City and it happens. Everyone's like, oh, this is terrible. Where's he going to play? Where's he going to fit in? Where's his minutes?
My theory now is that I think the sweepstakes is going to be actually pretty streamlined. I think this is just me, Adam. I know the lottery can throw a curveball there based off the bounce of a ping pong ball. I think it's Toronto, Washington, and Utah. Like, these are the worst teams. New Orleans might sneak in there, but I think those are the 3 teams that are going to try to get that number 1 pick. Like, they are going to tank big time. Washington is already tanking, you know?
Well, Washington is. I feel bad for, like, because we talk about Toronto and how they gave a ton of money, everybody, just to sort of, let's just put the money in now. Let's just be a very expensive team. But these guys will, in theory, they would have had a year together to mesh. All the young players, of course, they're all injured, so who knows what any of them are. But you have Washington. Okay, let's give some money to Kispert. We got Kulabi, who took a nice little leap before he got injured. Okay,
SAR's looking better.
we draft Sarr, we draft Keyshawn George, and we draft Bob Carrington. Oh, but you have a big Malcolm Brogdon, Kyle Kuzma, and Jordan Poole thing. Those guys, they're going to get their 30. You're not going to pay those guys to sit.
I think Brogdon's getting moved by the deadline. I think that's going to happen.
But they all have no value because nobody can make deals. It used to be, all right, we'll take the extra salary because we will add Kuzma. We're going to make a push. Well, we can't do that now because we have to match his salary for dollar and blah, 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 because we're over.
And we can't go past this number. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, we don't have 4 picks to give. And
yeah.
So you have, well, we want to play them, but we have all these people in front. Look at, Portland. We got Klingon, but, well, we got Ayton, whose value has gone so basement.
Portland's interesting. I'll say 2 things. Number 1, Chauncey Billups will not get fired. I think he's actually sometimes, or not mid-season. He's not going to get fired mid-season. I think he's actually getting the team to actually play somewhat hard at times. The other thing, and listen, this is a small anecdotal thing in the long game of it, but I will say this: Scoot Henderson is playing his best basketball so far in his NBA career. So maybe there is hope there at the guard spot with Scoot in Portland.
It took a long time. And,
it did.
Well, Chauncey's an expiring deal, so I think they're just going to let him play it out. There is
right, but he's not going to get fired, is what I'm saying.
At this stage, there's no point to getting fired because the roster is so terrible and so, like, again, you gave Jeremy Grant that deal. You're stuck playing him. You have 3 centers. Let's draft let's draft Klingon. Well, you had Duop Reith, who has a great story last year. You got Robert Williams. You got DeAndre Ayton in front of them. They can only play center. You can't play 2 of them at once. So we got Scoot. Oh, we love Scoot. Scoot's the future. Scoot should have been number 1 pick.
He's not the future, but he's a good player.
Let's start Simons. Like, why is Anthony Simons and Dyson Daniels the 2 point guards? Like, that it just seems awfully strange. The same thing you had texted me about. Oh, Chicago's going to fire Billy Donovan, and it's just like,
Yeah,
why? It's not his
because
fault.
they lost 4 home games in a row, 3 of which were to bad teams. Adam, like now they also have a road stretch coming up. I think they play Portland, at Portland. Adam, if they go on like a 6-game losing streak after losing 4 in a row at home, that is a sign. It doesn't matter about the contracts and this and this and that. It has nothing to do with that. It just has to do with, have the players given up on the coach? The players have given up on Billy Donovan. That's what happened.
I don't think so. The players haven't given Billy Donovan. Okay, it's obviously strange. Like, you think you would give more minutes to Bazelis because, well, we're going to develop him. Why is he playing, 4, 10,
Because
12
they play
minutes?
fast and they want to take a bunch of threes. And that is basically the new default for, I don't have any plays to run.
But you have this roster. Well, we need to get rid of Vucevic. We need to get rid of Levine Levine. We need to get rid of Lonzo Ball. We need to get rid of Patrick Williams. I don't think they'll get rid of Billy Dunn. I think if February, the trade deadline, February 6th, I think if they don't make a major deal, that GM will be fired 301 February 6th. Because why did we had, there's nobody who thought the Patrick Williams deal was a good extension. And then on top of that, you're trying to get rid of these players. Again, we mentioned with other teams, you can't, well, we like them, but we have nothing to offer. Well, Chicago doesn't want to take back bad deals. And, well, okay, so
No.
you're stuck with this roster. It's not Billy Donovan's fault that but
Adam, it's not always the coach's fault. In fact, I would make the argument, like Mike Brown in Sacramento a couple weeks ago, like, I would make the argument it's rarely the coach's fault. But
Brown is just the owner showing why he's not a good owner.
My point is that someone takes the fall, and 99% of the time, the coach takes the fall first.
Unless that's what we saw with Phoenix.
Down that the player has to go.
It's the GM who has to go, I think, in Chicago. Billy Donovan, well, they're not playing hard for him. Well, why would you play hard if you've been in trade rumors for 2 years?
Yeah.
And this is the year everybody's saying, well, you're going to have to get dealt. You're going to.
Veen can get moved. I think it's Vucevic that might actually get a little bit more interest because of the fact that he's such a good offensive center. I do get the Nurkic vibes off of Vucevic sometimes. I'm like, man, his numbers look good in the box score, but he don't do shit on the court defensively. But I think some team will talk themselves into it, and his contract is somewhat friendly compared to other big guys. The Bulls are actually still in the play-in. Miami,
yeah, because they're not terrible enough, and you have Philly, who's, I'd said it in the previews, just Embiid and his injury, that contract is just.
He goes into practice. He gets knee soreness. They shut him down for 10 days. It's like, like, he is an amazing player, but as time goes by and you get older, it's harder to hit that grind every day. And Adam, I was thinking about this. And
just keep hitting it, and then, well, we can't rush him back ever. So, well, all they're trying to do is hold him back for the playoffs. Well,
what I was
tough.
At the regular season rewards those everyday guys like the SGAs. Nikola Jokic, I don't know how he does it at his age, but he does. Wembanyama plays every game. Like, even when he's hurt, he comes back like the Terminator.
But he's also young. And then his first major injury will change that way.
The NBA will always be a young man's game. Now, these older guys, like, look, God bless LeBron James. How he's been able to manage his injuries history, which has been very small in his 20-plus years, I don't know how. But if you watch those box scores, yes, he has some good games. Yes, he gets triple-doubles every now and then. His impact on the games versus Anthony Davis and even, like, Austin Reeves, not that much. Like, if you slid in somebody except for LeBron James in the Laker lineup, I think the result for the Laker games would be the same. If I could make that argument.
That they would be a little less, obviously.
Yeah, Lillard's just a special scorer. The thing about Lillard that I think he's learned playing with Giannis is that if I shoot the ball well, and I know Giannis is going to shoot a high percentage because of the nature of his game, we can win games with just the two of us shooting the ball well. Booker and Durant have learned that again. They're doing that again in Phoenix. Like, look, if we shoot the ball well, it doesn't matter how the rest of them play. But Philly, Jared McCain's done for the year. Maxi's playing okay. Paul George is in and out for injury reasons and just, I guess, being old. Do you think they should shoot for the play-in?
Why wouldn't they? They don't. If they, you know how bad it would look for
That's what I
the
was gonna say. The
team
media,
to spend all this money to be.
Brooklyn doesn't care. Brooklyn doesn't care. I think they're gonna play their way out, but they don't give a shit. Whereas
Brooklyn
Sixers
is
give a
also Brooklyn's are waiting for trade, but they're waiting for trades, and the players are being very, as well they should. They're being very defiant. Like, what do we care about picks and everything? Like, I don't want to lose my job. I don't, I'm playing because I want to play good basketball. It makes no reason for me to phone it in if I want to play. Whereas Philly, we spent this ton of money and
they're eyeing Miami, and like they want to, because I think a lot of people are just curious to see what does Miami look like after the Butler's deal is done, depending on what they get in return. Like, Hero's playing great. Bam is playing pretty much every game, but they don't always. Here's the thing: like, Butler actually came back into the lineup, and they lost by 20 points to the Nuggets at home. So, something's got to give there eventually where they deal them in the next couple of weeks. Detroit's playing well. They don't win every game, but they're Cade Cunningham is probably going to be an all-star. So you don't, Chicago is playing poorly. Orlando is man, I don't want to say anything definitive yet, because once Franz comes back, I think they're going to play a lot better and shoot right back up the standings. But they're struggling. They are struggling.
Of course they're struggling because they're injured or they're young, and KCP didn't. He's. I said he was sort of just middling out there, but the middling has sort of gotten a little worse and worse and worse, and he appears to have not been the solution there.
And he looks like Paulo. He's great. But you can't do everything. You can't do everything. Like, Wendell Carter can't do everything. Like, you got to have a little bit more depth than what they've been given, because Suggs has had injuries and Franz has been out with a torn oblique also for like a really long time. So once they're back in full health, I think they'll be okay. The other thing too is that in the West, like, there's so many of those middling teams. I hate to just like
they're all middling, and that's the problem, which we said at the beginning of the show. It's hard to get excited since all the teams are middling, and it's just, well, if they have a good week, they could go from 11th to 6th in 1 week span. So it's just like, why am I even paying attention to them?
And I got to give credit to the two LA teams. They had a extra long layoff because of the wildfires, so their home games got postponed by at least a month in some cases. But they've actually played well. In fact, they played each other in LA this past Sunday. So
LA played LA and LA. They played each other.
Well, remember though, the Clippers now have that Intuit Dome. Actually, the WWE had their first Raw on Netflix in that arena, the Intuit Dome. So, it's like the Clippers' home stadium. Like, it actually has a vibe to it. But no, they're playing. What I'm saying is the LA teams are playing good enough to stay out of the play-in for the time being. Dallas is going to come back roaring when Luka comes back from injury. We know this. The Wolves are playing okay. Anthony Edwards, he'll have a game where he scores.
The Wolves are not playing okay.
But got Anthony Edwards. That's what I'm trying to say.
But nobody else has done anything now. Mike Conley has expired.
He's a washout. He's
basically. He got, which we had worried, he got old, and what was it, Ron Holland? Did they have Ron Holland or? Yeah, he hasn't been. He got injured. And he's not ready to take over.
Yeah,
Dillingham, Holland's in Detroit. Sorry, he's not ready. DiVincenzo didn't move in seamlessly. Julius Randle, his skill set does not fit this team. Gobert, I don't want everyone to go, he's regressed, he's terrible. No, just what he did, he was complimentary to Towns, and now his skill set is no longer complimentary to Randle, and he's sort of just on an island more.
Towns is playing great. The thing about Towns that I find funny is that he's kind of like Anthony Davis in that a lot of people have this opinion of Towns and Davis sometimes, that they're soft. because they get a lot of like knick-knack injuries. The funniest part though about Towns is that his coach is Tom Thibodeau. So when he gets these injuries, he does oh my rib, ow, ooh, like he does this, and Tom Thibodeau's like, "You're going back in, right?" Like it's just a funny. It's like a funny and I know they were player coach before in Minnesota, but it's just like it's like differing personalities where like it's like this it's like a cartoon character who just kind of always gets injured and they just get dragged out there to go get injured some more. But Towns is playing fantastic as long as he can prevent injuries is what I'm trying to say. Two guys I do want to highlight. Jamal Murray's actually playing his best basketball so far this year. He had a 45-point game. I think that's one of the reasons why the Nuggets are actually winning their games, because they have a backcourt with Murray and Westbrook playing well, and then there's Jokic. I also want to credit Darius Garland. You want to hear a crazy factoid, Adam?
What?
I was waiting for the what. There for the player of the week, there's only been 3 players that have gotten it twice so far: Nikola Jokic, Jason Tatum, and Darius Garland. So that's one of the reasons why the Cavs are so good. You got Mitchell playing great, and you got Garland playing great.
Yeah, because they're both healthy, and Mobley has been he's in the MIP conversation.
I think the MVP race is still close. I think Tatum could get in it.
No. It is only SGA, and if SGA misses his 65, it'll be Jokic. If Jokic misses his 65, then
Jokic
it's
out with a quote-unquote illness about 2 weeks ago. SGA just missed his first game this past Saturday, and what do you know, Adam? The Thunder lost to the Mavericks, which just goes to show how important SGA is.
That's how the NBA is going. It's just SGA is going to win the MVP. Jokic is probably going to finish that. Who's third? There's no clue. Nobody's even close to doing it. And that's just the way the season has been.
You find those, and then you got to find those like lesser storylines to enjoy in the molasses of everybody's watching. People are talking about we got a new president, and we got a college football national title game to finish up that season. The NFL, the Super Bowl's coming up. College basketball's going on. So everybody's got other types of distractions until we get to February, and then the NBA takes center stage. So you kind of like, okay, so what can I really latch on to? And I think one of them for me is personally, because I'm here in Louisiana, the Pelicans aren't playing that badly, because they actually have players that are playing games. Like they're actually suited up playing the games. Zion Williamson is playing the games, and Trey Murphy is playing the games, and they're actually winning. They're beyond saving. They're beyond saving, but like at least they're playing hard.
Well, that is good finally, because they had no showed up until this point. And speaking of no showing, I don't know. We might, if something happens this week, if any news happens, we will be back with an episode next week.
Yeah, we're on standby.
If not, I have a little mini-sode I can pop in for the interim, so there will be something next week.
I did want to bring this up. So I was looking at the All-Star voting returns. Are we starting to see? Listen, the All-Star vote, I know we saw this with Grant Hill and Yao Ming a few times, where it's like, oh, they just get it because they're popular. Are we now getting to the point where it's possible that LaMelo Ball will make the All-Star game every year just because of his casual popularity?
The All-Star game has much more problems than LaMelo Ball. I mean, he's not putting in a terrible season. Anyway,
no,
it's just injuries.
He's top 3 scoring. He's fantastic. Yeah, I had no problem when I looked at the returns. Let me tell you this, Adam. When I looked at the voting returns and I looked at the top 3 or whatever people in those positions, I was like, that sounds right. Like I had the only qualm I maybe had, and this might be a hot take, was Curry. Where I understand the popularity, he'll be in the top 3 all the time in voting. I get it, but I don't know if Curry's been one of the 3 best guards in the Western Conference. Like, but
it's voting. It doesn't mean anything. That's why you
the reserves. They're going to announce that next Thursday, but then the week after that, kind of closer to the Super Bowl, they'll announce the reserves, and that's the fun part, because it's like, oh, okay, who got snubbed, and we can talk about that. And there is some good discussion, I think, this year about snubs, because I think some players that not everybody knows have had great, like Jalen Johnson. Great year. I would put him in the All-Star.
I don't want no snubs.
The other thing too, let me ask you this. I don't know, I'm not sure about your sibling situation. I have two brothers, okay? So do the Balls. The Balls are three brothers unless there's a fourth one that I don't know of. Would you rather be a guy like Lonzo who had a solid career but made a lot of money, LaMelo Ball who is constantly criticized but makes more money than Lonzo, or would you be LiAngelo and make the same amount of money just by being a rap star? Which one would you be?
We have gone over in years past about the Ball situation. We had said Lonzo was good but was ruined.
I am not a rap aficionado, okay? But I have heard that a LiAngelo Ball's rap song is very popular.
But yes, but that's the kids, which you are not a kid. Lonzo was
my brothers are doctors. I do not have a doctorate. Maybe I need to start rapping. Maybe I need to find a way to make my money.
LiAngelo, you felt bad for him because he was a basketball player and his father took him out because we all knew LaMelo was the best of the three, even back in high school. It was, Lonzo's good. He has great court vision. He can't shoot for anything, but his IQ is off the charts. The talent is LaMelo, and you have this third one. So the middle one was forced to go to Lithuania, forced to be in this other league. He had no, there was no college, no G League because his father paraded around, and he got stuck being, I think he was playing the Mexican League before he started his rap career.
I think so, yes.
And yeah,
he also had the controversy
screwed.
involving the shoplifting in China where Trump bailed him out. There was that too. So he was already in the zeitgeist before that. But hey, man, shout out to that dude. That dude made a hustle out of it, and now he's on he's on iTunes he was on TikTok. Let's see if TikTok's around by then. Do you think the NBA would be affected by that?
I am no longer as hip as you since you've dived into the TikTok and the kids and the hippin' and the hoppin' and the bippin' and the boppin'. So
yeah,
I will let you and your youthfulness in the snow and enjoy your little snow time. And
well, I'll enjoy my snow today, just like probably most of America. Listen, if Louisiana has snow, I'm only gonna guess everybody has snow right now because we never have snow. We are the hottest state. Us in Florida are the hottest states on record in the country. So we have snow. Everyone has snow.
I would think Arizona would have something to say with that, but
I don't know about that. We had that Gulf of Mexico near us. They just got Mexico. That's
all right.
Yeah,
Murray and Andrew Riche. I'm Adam Murray. Have a good one.
Take care, y'all.